London, March 8, 2022. Dawn. The sun is barely up, but inside the trading floors of Mayfair, the air conditioning is humming and the screens are screaming a violent, blinding green. The price of nickel is exploding. It is a parabolic line tearing through the top of the monitors. For a few glorious hours, small hedge funds and rogue retail traders are sitting on life-altering fortunes. They bet the price would go up, and they were exactly right. But miles away, in the manicured boardrooms of elite Western banks, there is absolute, suffocating panic. A Chinese billionaire known as Big Shot has made a massive bet the other way, and he is losing billions by the minute. If he goes down, he drags the massive banking syndicate with him. What happens next is a paradox that shatters the illusion of the free market. The system does not let the billionaire fail. Instead, they hit undo on reality. To join the few who actually understand how the financial machine protects its own, hit subscribe. We are dissecting the greatest legal heist in modern market history. Wenzhou, China. A sprawling industrial empire built entirely on stainless steel. The man at the center of it is Zhang Guangda, founder of Tsingshan. In the financial press, they just call him Big Shot. He is aggressive, brilliant, and controls a massive portion of the global nickel supply. But Big Shot does not just produce metal, he trades it. Imagine a darkened office where a Western broker sits across from him. The broker says, "We can provide the massive leverage you need to expand, but you must hedge your physical production. If the price of nickel falls globally, your factories lose money." Big Shot leans forward and replies, "Then I will short the futures market. If the physical price falls, my paper trades will make billions, balancing the books perfectly." The broker smiles, shakes his hand, and approves a monstrous credit line. It sounds like textbook corporate risk management. Everyone is happy. But over time, the supposedly safe hedge mutates into something incredibly dangerous. It stops being a safety net and becomes a gargantuan directional gamble. The trap is officially set. To understand the trap, you have to visualize the mechanism of a short hedge. Imagine a pie chart where half the pie is made of physical metal and the other half is made of paper contracts. If you own a massive nickel mine, you are naturally long on the metal. You want the price to go up. To protect yourself from a crash, you borrow paper nickel from the market and sell it at today's price, promising to buy it back later. This is shorting. The banker says to the client, "If the price drops, your mine suffers, but you can buy back the paper contracts for pennies, securing a massive profit that saves your company." The client says, "But what if the price goes up?" The banker replies, "Then your paper trade loses money, but your physical mine makes a fortune. You are perfectly balanced." That is how it is supposed to work. But Big Shot did not keep the pie balanced. He built a paper short position so incredibly large that his physical metal could no longer cover it. He was exposed. By late 2021, the scale of Tsingshan's short position is an open secret in the whispering galleries of global commodity markets. We are talking about roughly 150,000 tons of paper nickel. Picture a fleet of cargo ships, fully loaded, existing entirely on bank ledgers. Big Shot has placed a directional bet against the global economy. He is convinced that a flood of new supply from Indonesia will crash the price of nickel. If he is right, he will rake in billions in pure profit, solidifying his reign as the undisputed king of the metals market. If the price drops, he is a genius. But if he is wrong, the sheer gravity of his position will create a financial black hole. Every dollar the price ticks upward will cost him millions. And the banking syndicate that lent him the money will be on the hook for the losses. The entire architecture of his empire relies on one simple assumption. The price of nickel absolutely cannot spike. But in early 2022, the world is about to catch fire. London, the London Metal Exchange. It is a financial institution older than the light bulb, carrying 145 years of aristocratic trading history. Inside, the floor is dominated by a circle of red leather couches known simply as the Ring. Imagine a room full of men in tailored suits shouting over the din of ringing telephones, signalling trades with complex hand gestures. This is not a modern, sterile server farm. This is a clubby, aggressive, highly concentrated venue used by miners, manufacturers, and the world's largest trading houses. The LME prides itself on being the ultimate neutral arbiter of physical reality. If you need 10,000 tons of aluminum delivered to a warehouse in Rotterdam, this is where you buy it. The exchange is supposedly immune to the whims of any single participant. It is a fortress of free market capitalism, where the rules of supply and demand are etched in stone. But beneath the red leather couches and the veneer of neutrality, the exchange is harbouring a ticking time bomb built entirely on unregulated credit. The bomb was armed in the private offices of the world's most powerful banks. To hold a short position of 150,000 tons, you need enormous lines of credit. Picture a conference call between a prime broker at JP Morgan and Tsingshan's finance department. The broker says, "We see your massive short position growing. The exchange requires collateral to keep this trade open. If the price moves against you, we need cash immediately." The Tsingshan executive calmly replies, "We are the largest producer in the world. Our factories are running at full capacity. Our physical inventory is the ultimate collateral. You know we are good for it." The broker pauses, calculates the massive fees the bank is collecting from the trade, and says, "Approved. We will extend the credit." This conversation echoes across multiple banks. 10 different brokers, each extending credit, each assuming Big Shot can handle the risk. None of them fully realise the collective size of the monster they are feeding. The banks have effectively tied themselves to the steering wheel of a car speeding toward a cliff. Let us break down the invisible leash that controls these trades. It is called margin. Imagine you are renting an apartment. You put down a security deposit. In futures trading, that is your initial margin. But the market is ruthless, so it checks the value of your apartment every single day. This is called mark to market. If the price of nickel goes up, the value of a short seller's trade goes down. The clearinghouse automatically generates a variation margin call. The clearinghouse tells the broker, "The price moved. You owe us $20 million by tomorrow morning to cover the risk." The broker immediately calls the client and says, "Wire us $20 million right now, or we will forcibly close your position." Under normal circumstances, the client wires the money and the machine keeps humming. It is a flawless system for managing risk, designed to prevent catastrophic defaults. But it has a fatal flaw. It assumes the client actually has the cash, and it assumes the price will only move in normal, predictable increments. It cannot handle an explosion. In February 2022, the predictable increments vanish. Russian tanks roll across the Ukrainian border. The global supply chains, already fractured by pandemic lockdowns and soaring inflation, violently snap. The geopolitics of metal suddenly matter more than anything else on Earth. Why? Because Russia is one of the world's dominant producers of high-grade nickel, the exact type of nickel required to manufacture electric vehicle batteries. Overnight, fear rips through the market. Sanctions are threatened. Cargo ships are delayed. Corporate buyers panic, realizing they might not be able to source the physical metal they need to keep their factories running. So, they start buying futures contracts at any price to secure inventory. The price of nickel creeps up. Then it marches. Then it sprints. With every dollar the price rises, the variation margin calls hitting Big Shot's desk multiply. 10 million, 50 million, 100 million. The leash is choking him. His banks are staring at their screens, suddenly realizing the collateral they accepted might not be enough. The trap has sprung. The market has sensed blood in the water. March 7, 2022. The night shift. Trading screens across London, New York, and Hong Kong are flashing with an intensity that makes traders physically nauseous. The price of nickel is no longer just rising. It has gone completely parabolic. Imagine a line chart that starts at $30,000 a ton, violently jerks to $40,000, and then rockets straight up toward $50,000. Desks are littered with cold coffee and half-eaten food as risk managers scream into headsets. The sheer velocity of the move defies all economic fundamentals. There is no new factory being built today. There is no sudden doubling of electric vehicle demand tonight. This is purely mechanical violence. Small quantitative funds and retail traders who were lucky enough to hold long positions are watching their account balances inflate by millions of dollars per minute. The algorithm says they are rich. They are taking screenshots of their screens, popping champagne in their minds. But the veteran traders staring at the tape know exactly what is happening. This is not a rally. This is an execution. On private Slack channels and Bloomberg terminal chats, the wolves are circling. The conversation is rapid, brutal, and entirely focused on one question. Who is trapped? One trader types, "Someone massive is getting margin called right now." Another replies, "It has to be Tsingshan. Big Shot is drowning." The first trader says, "Then we keep buying. Force him to cover. Do not let him breathe." This is the ruthless reality of the free market. When an apex predator is bleeding, the rest of the ecosystem does not offer a bandage. They coordinate an attack. The traders know that if Big Shot cannot post billions in cash tonight, his brokers will be legally obligated to liquidate his position. And the only way to liquidate a massive short position is to buy back the contracts at whatever the current market price is. The sharks are deliberately bidding the price higher, knowing that a desperate buyer with a bottomless checkbook is about to be forced into the arena. It is the ultimate game of financial chicken. You must understand the terrifying physics of a short squeeze. Imagine a burning theatre with only one exit door. If you are short a stock or a commodity, you have borrowed something you do not own. To exit the trade and stop your losses, you must buy it back. The trader says to the broker, "I surrender, close my position." The broker says, "I am trying, but there are no sellers at 50,000. I have to bid 60,000. The purchase is executed at 60,000. That very act of buying pushes the market price up. Now, the next short seller gets margin called because the price is higher. He screams at his broker, "Close my position!" The broker buys at 70,000. The price rises again. It is a self-sustaining nuclear reaction. Forced buying triggers higher prices, which triggers more forced buying. The fundamentals of the underlying metal become completely irrelevant. Nickel is no longer a physical component used to make stainless steel. It is a financial weapon being used to liquidate a billionaire. As the sun rises on March 8, the impossible happens. The price of nickel crosses $100,000 a ton. It has more than doubled in a matter of hours. The line chart looks like a glitch in the simulation. At these levels, Big Shot's paper losses are not measured in the millions. They are estimated at $8 billion. $8 billion. The margin calls are due in a matter of hours, and there is simply not enough liquid cash in his corporate treasury to pay them. The trap has snapped shut, breaking the bones of his empire. Under normal market rules, The sequence of events from here is cold and bureaucratic. Shorts who cannot post margin are declared in default. Their positions are forcefully liquidated. The longs who correctly bet against them collect their spectacular profits, and the loser is wiped out. This is the brutal fairness of capitalism. The market does not care if you are a retail trader in Ohio or a billionaire in Wenzhou. Or at least, that is the lie we are sold. London, 7 a.m. Bank boardrooms are descending into chaos. Executives, who usually project icy calm, are shouting over speakerphones, their ties loosened, their faces pale. Picture a giant digital spiderweb projected on a screen. In the centre is Tingshan. Radiating out from the centre are thick, glowing lines connecting Big Shot to the most prestigious banks in the world. JP Morgan, Standard Chartered, BNP Paribas. Every single one of those lines represents a massive credit vulnerability. The banks realise they are standing in a pool of gasoline, and Big Shot is holding a lit match. If he defaults, he does not just lose his own money. The banks will have to absorb the $8 billion hole in the ledger. The contagion will not stop there. The banks are members of the LME clearinghouse. If the banks take a multi-billion-dollar hit, some of the smaller brokers might go bankrupt before lunchtime. The panic is no longer about one company losing a trade. The panic is about the structural integrity of the entire global metals market collapsing by noon. The phone calls between the brokers and the LME clearinghouse are frantic. Imagine the head of risk at a major brokerage screaming into the receiver. The broker says, "We just issued $1 billion margin call to Big Shot. He is not answering the phone. He does not have the cash." The clearinghouse official, staring at a flashing red terminal, replies, "The rules are the rules. If your client cannot pay the margin, you must pay the margin on his behalf." The clearinghouse must be made whole. The broker slams his fist on the desk. "We do not have $1 billion in liquid capital sitting around. If you force this collection, we are insolvent in 3 hours." Multiply this conversation across half a dozen major institutions. The clearinghouse is demanding cash that simply does not exist. The banks realise that the unstoppable force of the short squeeze has met the immovable object of systemic insolvency. Someone has to absorb the blast, and the banks refuse to let it be them. The lobbying begins. To understand why the LME is terrified, you must understand the Central Counterparty, or CCP. The CCP is the beating heart of the exchange. Imagine a giant vault that stands between every buyer and every seller. When Trader A buys from Trader B, they actually trade with the vault. The vault guarantees that everyone gets paid, eliminating the risk that a stranger defaults on you. The executive says to the board, "The vault is impenetrable because we collect margin from everyone." But the chief risk officer replies, "The vault is only safe if the brokers pay us. If Big Shot defaults, he bankrupts broker B. If broker B goes bankrupt, they cannot pay the vault. If the vault is breached, the entire market loses faith. Every trader will pull their money out, and the London Metal Exchange will die." The CCP is designed to be the ultimate firewall, but Big Shot's enormous, under-collateralized position has grown so large that it threatens to overwhelm the firewall entirely. The mechanism built to protect the market is about to destroy it. The margin calls are officially due. The clock is ticking down to the opening bell. Several major brokers are quietly preparing insolvency documents. The free market is about to execute a billionaire, wipe out billions in banking capital, and crown a new class of wealthy retail and hedge fund traders who played the game perfectly. The rules are clear. You place a bet, you post your margin, and you live with the consequences. If a retail trader had made this mistake, Their broker would liquidate their account in a microsecond, send them a bill for the negative balance, and wish them a good life. There would be no hesitation, no mercy, and certainly no systemic intervention. But Big Shot is not a retail trader. He is a systemically important whale, heavily tethered to the financial elite. As the price of nickel hovers around $100,000, the executives at the London Metal Exchange stare at their screens and realize they have only one option left. They have to pull the nuclear switch. The free market is over. March 8, 2022, 8:15 a.m. London time. Across the globe, trading terminals suddenly freeze. The violent green lines flatline. The numbers stop spinning. A stark red notification blinks across thousands of screens. Trading suspended. The LME has halted the nickel market. At first, the longs are confused but unbothered. Circuit breakers are a normal part of volatile markets. Exchanges pause trading to let panic subside and allow participants to source cash for margin calls. The victorious traders sit back in their chairs, staring at their massive unrealized profits, waiting for the bell to ring so they can close their positions and cash out. They are measuring drapes for new mansions. They are calculating early retirement. But inside the LME headquarters, a much darker conversation is taking place. Pausing the market does not solve the problem. If they reopen at $100,000, the margin calls will hit instantly, the brokers will default, and the clearinghouse will shatter. Halting the game is not enough. The house realizes they have to turn back time. Imagine the locked door conference call between the LME executives and the clearinghouse lawyers. The CEO says, "We halted the trading, but the margin calls are still pending. The banks are telling us they will default if we enforce the collection." The lawyer replies, "Our rulebook gives us broad discretion in the event of a disorderly market. We have the authority to maintain market integrity." The CEO takes a breath and says, "If we resume, the brokers die. If we force the liquidation, the system collapses. What if we do not just stop the trades? What if we erase them?" The lawyer pauses, knowing the catastrophic reputational damage this will cause. He says, "You want to retroactively bust the trades? Cancel everything that happened this morning?" The CEO replies, "We roll the clock back to midnight. We reset the price to roughly $48,000. We erase $4 billion in transactions. We act like the spike never happened. It is the only way to save the clearing members." The decision is made. The hammer falls. This is the mechanism of a busted trade, and it is the financial equivalent of daylight robbery. Imagine you walk into a casino. You place $1,000 on 00 at the roulette table. The wheel spins, the ball bounces, and it lands perfectly on 00. You just won $35,000. The dealer smiles and slides the chips toward you. But suddenly, the casino manager walks over, puts his hand over your chips, and drags them back to the house. The manager says, "I am sorry, the wheel was spinning too fast. We have decided the conditions were disorderly. We are cancelling the spin." You get your original $1,000 back, but your profit is gone. You scream that it is unfair, but he points to a tiny sign on the wall that says, "The casino reserves the right to void any bet." By busting roughly $4 billion in trades, the LME socialized the losses up the ladder to protect the banks, and privatized the losses downward, stealing billions from the traders who were right. Traders all over the world refresh their screens, waiting for the halt to lift. Instead, they watch a financial magic trick. The spectacular profits sitting in their accounts simply vanish. Balances drop by tens of millions of dollars in a single keystroke. The longs who played by the rules, met their margin requirements, and correctly modelled the risk, are completely wiped out of their gains. Meanwhile, Big Shot and his elite syndicate of Western banks are handed a miraculous lifeline. The high-priced trades that would have bankrupted them are null and void. The catastrophic loss is dramatically reduced. From the outside, the optics are absolutely toxic. It is undeniable proof that the free market is entirely conditional. It is free right up until a powerful insider makes a fatal error. When the elite are trapped, central planning abruptly replaces capitalism. The house hits undo. The traders who had millions stolen from them are not going to quietly accept an apology. They call their lawyers. The nickel market is about to become a historic legal war zone. Weeks later, the fallout is catastrophic. Major hedge funds like Elliott Management and market makers like Jane Street file furious lawsuits against the London Metal Exchange. Picture a courtroom flooded with mountains of legal briefs, each dissecting the precise definition of the word disorderly. The trust in the 145-year-old institution is fundamentally broken. Major market participants publicly announce they will reduce their exposure or abandon the LME entirely. The trading floor, once a chaotic theatre of pure capitalism, now feels like a rigged casino where everyone is checking the exits. The reputational damage bleeds into the broader financial system. The regulators circle, launching investigations into how a single billionaire was allowed to build an unregulated, uncollateralized position so massive that it threatened the global supply chain. The illusion of safety has evaporated. The system was exposed not as a neutral arbiter of price discovery, but as a fragile network of overlapping liabilities, managed by people who will readily change the rules mid-game to protect their biggest clients. The ring fence around the elite has never been more visible. In the legal battles that follow, the arguments reveal the dark core of financial regulation. Imagine a deposition where a furious hedge fund manager glares across the table at an LME executive. The fund manager says, "We took the risk. We correctly identified the squeeze. We won the trade. You stole our money to save a billionaire who made a bad bet." The executive adjusts his tie and replies, "We did not steal anything. The rulebook explicitly gives us the power to intervene to maintain market integrity. If we let the trade stand, the clearinghouse would have collapsed and no one would have been paid." The fund manager sneers, "Market integrity? You mean banking integrity? You protected the prime brokers who let him build the position in the first place." This dialogue encapsulates the eternal divide between what is legal and what is fair. Legally, the exchange had the rulebook on its side. Morally and economically, they broadcasted a chilling message to the world. Your profits are only valid if they do not inconvenience the wrong people. This entire saga reveals a hidden mechanism that retail investors rarely consider. It is called venue risk. When you buy a stock, a commodity, or a leveraged derivative, you are not just taking on price risk. You are taking on the risk of the referee. The analyst tells the novice investor, "You can be absolutely right about the fundamentals. You can manage your leverage perfectly. But if you are trading in a venue where the rulebook allows discretionary intervention, your perfect trade means nothing." The novice asks, "So how do I protect myself?" The analyst replies, "You have to realize who the rules are written for. They are written to ensure the survival of the exchange and its largest clearing members, not to guarantee fairness for the small trader." Venue risk means acknowledging that if your counterparty is a systemically important giant and they are about to drown, the exchange will drain the ocean to save them, leaving you stranded on the rocks. You are not competing in a free market. You are competing in a managed ecosystem. The nickel squeeze is not an isolated historical glitch. It is a blueprint. The same asymmetry of protection exists in nearly every heavily leveraged exotic market operating today. Whenever catastrophic leverage threatens the inner circle, the system will rewrite reality to save itself. privatizing the losses down to the retail participants and the smaller funds. If you are not a systemically important whale, the market's mercy does not apply to you. A normal trader with bad risk management is simply liquidated and forgotten. No one will bust your trades in sympathy. This is the chilling realization. The further you drift from simple, well-regulated, unleveraged investing, the deeper you wander into a game where your counterparties can literally call the referee and change the score. You cannot outsmart a system that has the power to press undo. You aren't in the club, and your profits are always conditional. To stop playing their game and learn how to protect your capital in a rigged system, hit subscribe. The rules are changing every day, and ignorance is the most expensive position you can hold.